Good evening, folks. Going live with Benetti Menswear, and we're going interviewing Noel Leary today. Hopefully, Noel will log in and won't mess me up like the bowl Damien Delaney did the last day and Muggsy before him. Looking forward to this now. I would have great respect for Noel Leary and everything he has achieved. I just like his attitude, I like his style, I like the way he does things. There's never any shite with him. And he's a good, solid fella as well. And here we are. Oh man, no. Just waiting for Noel now. Noel,
Tomás,
how are you, boy?
Jesus, I never thought I'd see myself in this York, but in here.
I was just going to say it.
No.
I never thought we'd see ourselves chatting on this after all the years, and we're here sitting on a fucking. I'm looking into a phone. I don't know, you're looking into a laptop.
I'm looking into a phone as well, yeah. Not a great phone now, but it's Louis, I suppose.
Come here, I suppose.
No crack.
No crack, by no crack. You weren't. Is Instagram new to you? Were you on it before? No.
No, never, no. This is the first time now. Jesus, I don't know how this is gonna go, but anyway, we give it a rattle anyway, I suppose.
It'll go fine. I was just going to say with the Instagram now, where you'll have to start posting tops of yourself training in the back garden with nothing on, and you'll have to throw up a few dinners and all that kind of crack what you're eating in the morning. And it is a funny social media in general. Noel, have you anything on Twitter or anything? Do you follow it at all?
No. I'm on none of it now.
You're probably
WhatsApp is as far as it goes now.
You're probably way better off without it as well, aren't you?
I suppose there's a bit of that. It was something that never took my fancy, to be honest. But sure, I suppose is the way things are going. No, but you would never know. Sure, I could. I got on with it. Could be a mighty Instagram man after this.
Well, he's right. I'll tell you, I'm on Twitter myself, and I threw it up on whatever day, Wednesday, whatever day I was chatting to you there, and I said that Noel Leary's come around. There was a fierce amount of interest in it. And one of the first men that came in, and he says, will you ask Noel Leary, or ask him about the night I broke his ribs down in Parky Cleeve to Diarmid O'Sullivan, the Rock. And I said, fuck it, I'd have to ask you, what happened there at all? Was that the time he was playing the football, was it?
It was, yeah. That was, geez, that's a while ago now. It was, we met him at Killeen, the championship. I'd say around 2003, I suppose. But he was in full forward, and of course, he was having a good enough game, good man to win the ball inside. And I think we were up a point at the time, and time was nearly up. And of course, I was moved in them anyway to make sure that he didn't get the ball, but time nearly up, and ball came in high in air, and I just happened to get a hand at it and caught it kind of over his head, and of course got a step in him. He was slow enough in there that time, so got a bit ahead of him in there, and of course got a bit of a tickle in from behind. Drew a slap, of course, in behind, and I'll always remember it like that in the story. The blood was up, so it didn't seem as bad at the time, but I was training with Cork 2 nights after, and Brendan O'Sullivan. Do you remember the Brendan Jar?
I do indeed.
Brendan Jar, yeah. Brendan had a ritual in it that, every night at training he'd hit a lad a false rap of a shoulder just as he was coming out of the tunnel. And Jesus, I was coming out in it, and your man came from nowhere, the Jar, and gave me a woeful shoulder, and Lord God Almighty, my ribs. I could feel a darkening on my ribs, and I knew something wasn't right. So when kicking a ball in outside, and same story, got a dart, so I went into Colin Lane, and of course the first thing Colin asked was, what was the urine like with the last couple of days? So I said, was that a darkening a bit alright? And he said, straight up to the CUH, so up I went in here, and of course two fractured ribs in here I was diagnosed with.
Oh,
so the lad never left it go in here, but he'd won over me, but as the fella said, you were always looking for payback.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
A couple of years ago, a couple of years ago, we went for a sojourn out to San Fran there and a bit of a do. And of course, I was in the room with the lad. And yeah, sure, every day he'd say, he'd want about breaking my ribs and this and that. And I was, thinking to myself, how in the Christ will I even score here now? So I said, it's probably not a good idea to take him in daylight, And I said, what, I'll wait now till he goes to bed. And I let him sleep for a small bit, and I'll tackle him inside in the bed. So, of course, we went out that night, and he was full of stout, and back home we went to the room, and of course, into bed he went, and next thing the honker started going, he started snoring, and I said, now was my opportunity. So I got a pillow, and I walked over and put the pillow over his head just to disorientate him a small bit, and I tell you, I gave him a farewell to inside in the bed. And when you hear a grown man asking for his mammy, I can tell you one thing, it's fairly satisfying. It's fairly satisfying. So we're all even in there. That's the most important thing.
That was my second question. Did you get him back? You got him back well.
Oh, Christ. Oh, we got him back well. But anyway, I know a good friend of Dermot now. He's
a soul man.
Dermot is a good friend of mine, soul man.
Yeah. Come here. I was just thinking there. I saw it earlier. I think if I'm right, if I have my dates right, this was the weekend that Kerry and Cork were supposed to meet, if they were meeting this year. And right. I suppose they were going down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh again. And you know what? You'd actually, I know it's going on a while, but you'd miss the old. Wouldn't it be good to look forward? Did you look after you finished up, Noel? Would you have gone to games? You still followed them? Would you go to all the big games and all that?
I would have, yeah, I would. Sure, I suppose, look where I'm from, Tomás, sure, obviously, I'd be close enough to the border, so football would have been huge back my area. And I suppose growing up, as a young lad, my father would have brought us to an awful lot of games. And some lads can find it difficult when they give up football to go to games. And I suppose, it can be tough trying to get back into the game and follow the team and whatever. But I kind of, to be honest with you, when I gave up, I kind of got back into it straight away and certainly followed their progress, as the thing was going on. And I'd certainly miss it big time, big time this year now, to be fair.
And the Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and I know, look, I'm living down here and a lot of people be giving out, and I think, Noel, it's a fantastic stadium now. Like, would you have loved to have played, even though the old Páirc Uí Chaoimh was still a fine stadium, it was a lovely kind of surround on it and all. What you make of the current Páirc Uí Chaoimh?
Yeah, like, I suppose, the crack, I suppose, I got a lot of bad publicity, but sure, at the end of the day, there's a serious stadium there, and it's just a shame that this happened. I suppose they need it. I suppose, with the pitch being done up now as well, that was obviously an issue as well at the start, but there's a fine surface there now, and it was ready to rock and roll, but this thing obviously hit in, and it's disappointing. I'm certainly impressed with the stadium there. There's no doubt about it. It's probably one of the best in the country. And look, as you say, as a footballer, you'd love to have got an opportunity to play there and Munster final day or whatever,
Yeah, I'll go back to you were talking about the club there, Noel, and your club would be very similar to our own in that there's no hurling in Kilmatra, is there?
There's not. No. Kind of, I suppose, back our way, we're kind of, I suppose, how would you say, mid-Cork, kind of west of mid-Cork.
Yeah.
You've no hurling there. No, none whatsoever. It's all football. Yes.
What are your early memories? Like you said, your dad used to carry you off to games. What are your earliest memories? What age would you have been starting off at the club?
Oh, sure, I suppose kind of from 5 or 6 years old we'd have been picked up and brought to sessions then, all right. But you're in numbers, Tomás, would have been a big issue at the time. We would be tight there, to be fair. It's a small parish. Yeah, that would have been, I'd say about 6 years old, you would have been, as I said, you would have been cornered and brought along around that age, like. But, like I say, look, football was everything to us back there, we'd no soccer either, see a lot of that in country clubs as well, but no, it was just Gaelic football for us.
And the club, Noel, was always very important to you, like, and you got to huge, big games. The last few years, you had a lot of good young fellas coming through, didn't you?
We did, to be fair. Yeah, like, I suppose, look, going back to when we became successful, I'd say back maybe in the late 90s or that way. it kind of took a crop of young lads kind of to merge in with the older crew at the time. We hadn't been very successful as a club. We were not, I suppose, we were really a junior B club for a long time. And you know the crack yourself, you know, there was a few brothers, you know, came along, young lads and the likes, and sure, you know, it kind of tied together then. And we went to our first Milcock final in '99, lost after replay, and then 2002 we made the breakthrough and won it again in 2003, the Milcock, and went to the county final and went up then intermediate. But we went a good few years then, you know, near misses and the likes. But I suppose it came to stage then again where I suppose our generation was getting a bit older, and we were lucky enough then that a new crop came in again there, and we have a good young team, but it's like a lot of small clubs, we're very dependent on 20 players really, you know.
Yeah, it is always the way. And you are, like, you're a girl to Fairy as well, and you would have travelled to Comhrá, and I was watching you on television a couple of years ago. The Comhrá are a great crack, Noel, aren't they?
Great crack, but Jesus, after the third day, I'll tell you one thing, you'd be creaking. And you can ask Mark about that. That was, Jesus, I always remember ringing him after that game. Jesus, I felt like an 8-year-old man that day. But myself and Mark had a bit of a clash that day. I had a good scar on my shin bone after him.
I forgot that. I was going to say you were creaking, but I'd say the old Marky was creaking after you as well after the weekend.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And it was a great whole weekend, to be fair. Great weekend.
Yeah, do you know, say socialising, do you always, and I used to always find it, you would have good crack with the lads, the inter-county fellas, and you know them so long and you're with them so long, and you know you have a certain crack there, but there's nothing like having the crack and the banter and say winning or losing or whatever journey you go on with the club, isn't it? It's actually like I didn't realise it at the time.
There's something, yeah. There's something a bit different. Yeah, there's no doubt. It's, I suppose, growing up with guys, I suppose, all your life really, you know, and there's always that connection there, and the Comhrá really brings that out, to be honest with you, you know. Just being away from home, and sure, you know, normally we socialise in the same places, you know, but geez, when you're back in Kerry, or you're up in Donegal or in Galway or whatever it is, it's unbelievable crack.
It take a long time to get home out of it. No, that's the only problem.
Oh God, that is a fact.
Come here. When did you start off with Cork? When did you actually say minor level? Now, did you play? You played minor with Cork, didn't you?
I did. I played 2 years minor, 99 and 2000. And we won the All Ireland in 2000 then. And I was brought into the senior panel. I suppose we won in September. It was actually before a year game against Galway, the senior game. But won that against Mayo, and I was brought in October in 2000.
Jeez, you were young, Noel, weren't you?
That time, I was young, yeah. I was 18 years old, and myself and Conrad Murphy from Clonakilty, we were the two that were brought in. But we played Limerick. I can always remember it. The league that time was played in December, the first couple of games. And I remember being brought on. I remember at the same time, my father was dead against me playing senior football at that age. You know, he wanted me to play when I was about maybe 20, 21. I was more mature. Yeah. And I never told him that I was in with the boys. And Jesus, this went on for weeks. And God almighty, tonight I was thinking, how will I come around this now with himself?
Oh, were you hiding the fact that you were going training like and all that?
Oh, I was, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. But Jesus, we played Limerick in the league below in Park Kiev, and I came on with I don't know, with 20 minutes to go, and didn't I take a shot from about 45 yards out, and she went straight into the net. A complete fluke job now. And sure, of course, there was a bit of chat about around the area then, and sure, I knew fine well himself would hear it back. Jesus Christ, they heard it anyway, and man, I can tell you one thing. I got some earful out there that night. He said. Anyway, he came around to the idea of it anyway. But to be fair to the man, I suppose I could get his point on it. All right, I was young. All right, to be fair. You know, I was only 18, and we were going in against seasoned characters at the time, and you know, he probably had a point. Maybe if I wait another year or so, a bit more mature and get on under my belt or whatever. But it don't mean no harm either.
There's a big difference now between minor and senior, isn't it? Even the level, like you think you're developed as a minor, and you go in and fuck it to some difference, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And the characters, then you're dealing with guys, that are maybe a few years older than you, and then you're obviously dealing with the very experienced guys and trying to figure out how you'll strike up a relationship with them, and there's a lot of that involved in the thing as well. And look, in time when you get in there and you get used to guys, it all falls into place. But there's a lot involved in it, like it's the physical side of it obviously as well. Like it's a huge step up, as you say. Like
who were the senior fellas when you landed in first? Who were the big boys at the other end?
I suppose the big boys on the other end that time would have been Kieran O'Sullivan, Joe Kavanagh, Colin Corkery, Donald McCarthy, the current manager.
Corkery was a good man for the training, Noel, wasn't he?
Oh, jeez, yeah. Corkery was I'm looking over the wall here just while I'm saying that. But oh, Jesus, Corkery. Yeah.
Well, he's played himself.
I always remember. Because I can always remember Tompkins trained us one night. It was the hardest session I ever put on in my life, but I'd say we trained for 2 hours that night, constant running, and I'd say Corkery was up on the table inside with the physio for about an hour and 3 quarters. Oh, Jesus, I always remember it. And the one man that needed it. But that's talent for a guy. That's talent.
He could kick the ball.
We'll give him a pass. Oh, jeez, he could kick the ball as well. He was a top man. To be fair, one of the best of them.
He was. I tell you, I got to know him very well with the Nemo lads. And Jesus, if you sat down with him for an hour, I tell you, you'd laugh hard. Tears coming down your face. He was good. Who were the characters on the team, Noel? Did you have good? Did you find it hard to blend in when you were a young fella?
Yeah, like I suppose the characters at the time, you'd Owen Sexton, Brendan Jorno, obviously, was another fierce character. Shoot, Conrad and Micheál O'Sullivan was another guy. Micheál O'Donovan. They were kind of the jokers of the pack, like. But they were so men now. To be fair, they'd gone through the mill. They played an All-Ireland final, and the experienced guys, but they really took us under their wing now. To be fair, so men, and they're a gas cracker. I
was, I obviously was with Kerry, and when you even from a young age, there's always Kerry Cork, Noel, isn't it? No matter what's happening, like Kerry Cork, and the fact that you were so close to the border at home, it probably meant that little bit more to you, and there was a lot of talk about it. But from one end of the year to the other, it was all about the championship meeting of Kerry and Cork, wasn't it? There was something special about it.
Absolutely, yeah, there is. And I suppose for us, and I'd say you're probably the same. I also fight to God for a Cork man to be saying, but there's probably nothing beats Killarney. There's just something really, really special about the place. I suppose it's just the town is so near the pitch there, and the atmosphere is electric for the whole weekend there. It's obviously a great town as well, but yeah, like I say, I grew up with all that, and probably grew up in a great, I suppose, stint at the time in that Cork were very dominant. Cork, that great Cork team of the late 80s, early 90s, like, so yeah, like for me, I had great days now going there as a young lad.
I'll come to Conor Coonan in a while, because you played under serious managers too. When you think of it now, like you talk about the late 90s, and Tompkins was there for a while, and then Billy came in, and Jesus, you couldn't get two more kind of heroes of the game in their own playing right. But geez, I've seen Billy involved with UCC, and geez, I've never, like, Paddy's the closest guy I can get in terms of passion and fellas wanting to go through a wall for him, and the way he can bring college fellas together. Like, it was special, I'd say, playing under him as well, isn't it? To some experience, like.
Absolutely, yeah, it was. Like, playing under Tompkins, he would have been a big hero of mine growing up, and I suppose obviously the club he played with, Castlehaven, then as well, I'd certainly have looked at them with a lot of their games as a young lad actually as well, and they, I suppose, you could kind of, how would I say, a lot of what they had, they were small club, Castlehaven, and had, these mighty men in Callan and Leary and Tompkins, and I just took a lot from them at the time. But anyway, ended up obviously training under Tompkins, and he was a ferocious man to train, like ferocious, and like the stuff we went through with him there was unbelievable at times, But I just, I suppose in the early 2000s, I've often said this, Nemo were very dominant as a club, and we found it very hard. We were missing the Nemo lads for 3 or 4 months of the year, and just the whole dynamic changed when they came back in. They were brilliant players, geez, don't get me wrong, and like great guys as well, but we could never get it right, whatever it was. But then obviously, Tompkins, resigned in, I suppose, in 2003, and I felt sorry for him, to be honest with you. We lost badly to Limerick that year, and Roscommon did knock us out above in Hyde Park, and Tompkins got a bad doing that time, but the whole thing was at a low ebb, and then obviously Billy came in, and like you say, the man was, I've never come across a guy as passionate and as infectious, and he really kind of, I suppose, that team in the late noughties, his fingerprints were really all over that as well. We really needed that man to come in at that time, and even though we didn't have a lot of success with him, he instilled an awful lot of belief in us, and just a great guy. She's a great guy. Yeah,
I remember he was in charge, and 'twas strange for the final, wasn't it? The final in 2007, and geez, I remember the build-up. Even forget about the game. No, I'm not going to be going down to talk about results and all that. But the freaking build-up to that game, and I was living in Cork at the time. It was ferocious because it was the first time ever that 2 Munster teams had ever met in an All-Ireland final, and it just shows the dominance and how good the teams were at the time, because very often we'd be told, and fellas would be laughing at us saying, "Oh, you're sure you have," they'd be kind of, did that bother you, Noel? They'd say that Cork were and it bothered me, and I'm not just saying it now, but the fact that people would say the Cork were soft, did that bother you, like saying that, say, oh, you were second fiddle, and that Kerry had to play nothing below in Munster, which I don't agree with anyway, but
I should look. Geez, it won't be human unless it did bother you. To be fair, there was a bit of that going around. I would say, Tomás, that in 07, I would have no complaints on that one. I felt Kerry were a better team than us. I did genuinely. I just felt like we certainly had no qualms on that one. But I suppose the later years, certainly, they'd have been years that we'd have, 08. We obviously went to replay above, and in the semi-final, that was a game, that we could have taken it possibly, and 09 then obviously was a very disappointing year, in the finish up for us. I suppose we played all the football that year, and Kerry probably didn't come into it. They came in under the radar, and it was a kind of an unusual situation in that, I suppose going to an All-Ireland final, you'd have felt that Kerry might have been fairly hot favourites coming into, but it was really the opposite, because we had just beaten Tyrone, who were All-Ireland champions at the time, and beaten them convincingly as well with 14 men. Played well now, to be fair, on the day. So like all the farmers with us coming into it, and I think it just fucking, we let it slip on the day. We had opportunities and it just didn't happen. But that's it. That's the way it goes.
Yeah,
that's the way it goes.
That team then, when you kind of came, you had a group, and I can even feel it now since then. Like there was a togetherness with that group when you won the Division 2, you won 3 Division 1s in a row, and finally, Noel, then you actually got what you deserved. You were good enough to win in All-Ireland, and you actually did it. Tell me what it meant you to finally to get over the line. Like, it must have been. Is that obviously the biggest day of your footballing life? Is it?
Yeah, sure, no doubt. Look, sure, there's no doubting that. I suppose, again, sure, going back to my youth, I suppose it's the thing you always dream of. Winning an All-Ireland with your county is probably the biggest honour you can achieve. And look, it was in a funny way, it was relief as well. like 2010, we probably, we certainly didn't come anywhere near, I suppose, the football that we played in '09. And I just felt that, I suppose, look, we can talk about it now. I suppose we, deep down, we probably wanted Kerry in that All-Ireland final in 2010. And Kerry were knocked out, and obviously you had your problems down there, missing a few players and whatever. And, when you were knocked out, I felt that, it was ours to lose then, really. We felt an awful lot of pressure, and just all our games after that, we were, just about getting over the line. It was more fucking nervous, and I suppose just the weight of expectation then was huge. And look, to get there was just relief, but obviously, it was definitely one of the best days of my life. Yeah.
The semi-final against Dublin, I thought it was looking like you had it. You all right?
Yes. My fucking earplugs are off. 1 second, Tomás, and I'll plug this ladder in here.
You're grand. Take your time.
I'm back to the old school stuff here now. Can you hear me there, Tom?
I can, perfectly. I was just saying, the Dublin game, I thought that was where, I won't say he won the All-Ireland, but it looked like it could have slipped away, because that Dublin team was coming, the famous Dublin team, that I suppose there's still a few of them around the place, but that team was coming, and Donegal, I thought, had a brilliant second half, but that was a huge win for Cork, I think, going into the final, because you can say the Kerry were gone, but Dublin were still racked. Dublin were as hungry as you or Noel for it.
Yes, I wouldn't disagree with you. I suppose the big thing that told on that day, Tomás, was experience, really. I'll always remember it 10 minutes into that game, 10 minutes into the second half of that game, like you felt, geez, this Dublin team, like they're really getting stronger. But there was definitely a sense of calm in our team at the time, you didn't feel that lads were, I suppose, how would you say, like that the game was really going from us either,
Yeah.
I was just, look, it was just a case we'd gone through the mill so many times and come across this so many times, and we just kept our head, kept clogging away, kept tipping away, and eventually it kind of ground Dublin down a bit. I think the inexperience told in with Dublin. They made a few bad mistakes, to be fair about it, and we were just that bit more experienced than them, to be fair, and you could see, I knew from that day, like you could see that, what was ahead, and they proved it.
Yeah, because there was a lot of fellas, yourself and Canty, Pierce O'Neill, there was a pile of fellas around for a while, Paddy Kelly, Donegal, that geez, you couldn't say didn't deserve an All-Ireland. I was talking to a man today, Ali Rua, and Ali said to ask you, I said, have you any question for him? And he said, just ask him what was the maddest thing he did after the All-Ireland celebrations. Just ask him that question, please. And I said, Jesus, you couldn't, I'm not going to get a straight answer off him there, but sure, I'll throw it out to you anyway, Noel. Yeah. The celebrations were good, you enjoyed it.
They were good. They were good. I'm not sure what the maddest thing was, but I'll always remember, Jesus, we went on holidays, the team holiday, and I was never a man that had put on an awful lot of weight. But Jesus, I don't know what we were doing wherever we were, but we said we'd weigh ourselves in on holidays. God almighty, tonight I was about 1.5 stone overweight. I swear to Christ, I nearly collapsed, but it obviously told that we were partying fairly hard anyway. That's a guarantee anyway. But Eric, it is hard to know. You know the crack yourself. No, there was so many nights. Sure, very hard to know. Very hard to know, but there were good times. All right.
Brilliant. What did it mean to bring it back then to Kilnamartyr? Did you bring it back a couple of weeks after, or a week after, or when did that?
Yeah. I'd say it was a couple of weeks after, but geez, no, we got a great turnout in Kilnamartyr. No, to be fair, probably one of the biggest turnouts. It was massive, Sure, I think it is funny now in Shawneens, which would be our local pub there. I think you have a picture of the 1990 team there now with the Sam Maguire, and there's actually a picture of Paddy there as well. I'm almost sure he's the Sam Maguire with him as well. And look, just to have that up there now as well, being a local man, it's a nice one, yeah. It's nice, all right now, to be fair.
I'll be shot unless I ask you about Galvin, like you said about the rock there.
Yes.
There was a little bit of nudging to and fro there for a few years. But in fairness, I'd say if he met up now, I'd say there'd be an awful lot of respect there as well, because the two of you would have a reputation. I think that wasn't fair, because the two of you were well able to play football, unbelievably well able. But it got hot and heavy, a few times, like.
It did, to be fair. Sure, I suppose, look, my first time crossing Paul, I suppose, was, I'd say, back around 2001. He actually wasn't on the Kerry panel at the time, and we played UCC in a practice game, and he was actually wing back that time, Galvin. Jeez, I can always remember, we didn't tussle, but I don't know what it was about it, but I just felt that we just wanted to, how would I say it? It was just, you could feel the tension during the game. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I said in my own mind, no doubt if we'll meet down the road, there'll be some tango between the two of us, and sure, lo and behold, that's the way it panned out. But look, to be fair to the man, Tomás, I'd have great respect for him, and obviously a brilliant footballer, and certainly a driving force on your team at the time. And one thing I suppose, while we're on it, it's going off scale a small bit, but and it's something that I always wanted to put out there. Over the years I've heard an awful lot of things, false things, really. This kind of sledging, which goes on, and I've heard numerous things from people that he said certain things to me during the game, personal things, and I can categorically state anyway, for both of us, to be fair, it goes both ways, that he never opened his mouth to me, and I was the same to him, and I think it's only fair that that's put out there as well, and to me, that's I'd show a huge respect to a guy that just puts it all out there, gets on with it. And to be fair, the majority of you were the same, I won't say all of you, but the majority of you were the same. And but it's totally different now. Sure, geez, what goes on now is unbelievable. But but no, I'd have, look, I know we had our tussles or whatever, but I'd have huge respect for him as a footballer, and certainly a lot of what went on was probably blown out of proportion a small bit, but he's a guy that certainly for me anyway, he's a guy that I'd have huge respect for. But you're on that, Tomás. It was like I think it was a few months ago there, an idea came into my head. I was half thinking about bringing out my own underpants range there, and I was thinking about getting him on board there to collaborate with me. And I have the name and all made up. But that designer crowd there again, D&G. Who are they again? D&G. Dolce & Gabbana. Yeah, to L&G anyway. Leary and Galvin anyway. That's the brand name anyway. For time, I'm telling it on to me.
I tell you, Noel, I'd say that underpants will put up a fair bit of pressure.
Oh, God help us.
But I know I roamed with Galvin for years, and I do know, and even I was hot ball, I'd be in regular contact with him, and he'd have nothing but the utmost respect, because of all the Cork fellas, really, because any fella knows that would go through UCC or whatever, they'd have that respect there, and it would always be there. Come here, say, since you've left, you're still involved, aren't you, with the Cork lads? Are you still involved? Were you involved with the minors, or were you involved?
No, I was. I started with under 15s, I suppose. You're going back maybe five or 6 years ago now, and I got involved with the minors for a couple of years. But you're being honest about, Tomás, I'd have zero experience in relation to coaching, and I suppose the big thing for me was to go in and see what the whole thing was about, and having done it. Geez, I've an unbelievable, respect for management teams and the time that goes into it. It's unbelievable. I mean, you put more time into outside of training sessions than you do in training sessions. And if the question was asked, would I go straight into training a team or managing a team when I give up? The answer would probably be no. I think I'd give it 4 or 5 years at least, because the volume, the time, just everything. It's. I have a huge amount of respect for anyone that goes into management, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is all consuming, and people don't really see that. And when you see the abuse that
They
they
don't.
get,
No,
or whatever, you know,
that's right.
Cork, Noel, this year, especially with the under-20s last year, and a great win against Dublin, and the talent that's coming through,
Yes.
and the talent you'd see in the county, the future is bright enough for
Hmm.
them, isn't it?
It is. It is. I suppose the big thing I see with him, Tomás, in the last year or two, you know, there's certainly a big culture shift there.
Mm.
Um, I would say over the last 5 or 6 years, the culture was all wrong there, and that it kind of starts from there. Really, like you have to have a team that are buying into everything, and I felt they were getting that kind of a bit wrong, at the time, and Ronan has definitely, he's definitely moved things on a bit, and in relation to the caliber of player, I suppose over the last few years, then maybe Cork were caught a bit that way as well,
Mm.
which is that's the way these things go on roundabouts. In relation, then I suppose to what's coming through, they're certainly in a very healthy state in that regard. But it goes back to our point, I suppose, when I was a minor or whatever, making the transition from minor and under 20 to senior now, it's a big step up,
Yeah.
and it's not going to happen overnight for them, but they're in a healthier state than a lot of other counties in regards to the influx of players that have coming through. But it's fine and well to have all Ireland winning underage teams, but it's what you do with them now going forward is going to be key. And if they are handled right, and as the fella said, put in the work, then I would say maybe 2 3 years time you could see Cork possibly challenging,
Mm.
maybe for an All Ireland quarterfinal, semi-final place.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go now in a second. Noel. The last
You're
kind
okay.
of thing was, do you know the way you said you came in there after 2000, right? And if you look
Hmm.
at it now, and the young fellas and what they have with Sigerson and college and under 20s and then senior, and the amount of work that goes into it,
Yes.
like from the
Hmm.
start until the end, like, were you
Hmm.
saying, Jesus, it was a way harder for young fellas coming through now? That it is a kind of a different life, say, and I was there in the 2000s as
It
well.
is.
Like, it's completely different, isn't
Yes.
it? It is. They live
It
they
is.
live a
It is. Yeah.
serious life now, don't they?
An unbelievable life. Yeah. I'd agree. I'd say just when we were finishing up, the two of us, I'd imagine it really, really ramped up then. No, obviously there was a lot asked of us as well through our career, and there was a lot of work involved in the thing, but it really, really took a step up, over the last maybe 5 or 6 years. And yeah, like I just the big thing for me, Tomas, is that enjoyment. Like, are they enjoying the thing?
Yeah.
And you'd have to ask that question, like, when your life is taken up more or less 24/7, in the prime years of your life,
Yeah.
you must really, really want it,
Yeah.
and unless you really want it, like, you have no business whatsoever, being involved in the county team. I believe at the moment, because there is just too much involved in the thing.
Yeah.
But they're great. Like, being honest with you, in relation to the football that's being played at the moment, and in relation to, the players that are out there at the moment, there's some serious footballers out there at the moment, and athletes, and just fabulous players. And football to me is, in a way, gets a lot of stick, at times, over, I suppose, the tactics that are being put in place, and whatnot. But you have hugely talented and extremely athletic players there at the moment, and I believe football is in as good a place as it ever was. But just a small bit of the negativity is a bit annoying.
Yeah, I'd say you're like myself. There's a few hairs out there, Noel, and I wouldn't like to be chasing them nowadays. There's some specimens of
No,
fellas. They wouldn't be good
there's no
crack.
doubt about that.
Well,
No,
you're
God Almighty, no.
Noel. I leave you go by.
No
I
problem,
really
Thomas.
appreciate you coming on. And thanks a
No
million.
bother.
By I know for years, Kerry fellas have mighty respect for you. I've no doubt that
No problem.
if you yourself and the other fella brought out the LNG Y fronts, that it'd be an instant hit, and you'd make good money out
Yeah.
of it as well. Noel, by
Oh,
Dormila
Christ,
Mahagat by
no
August
bother. Fáilte
Fernand
rád,
Heinz
Thomas.
Gatarish. All right, long of
Back
all.
to Lord. All right,
All right,
Thomas.
slán,
Slán,
by
slán,
slán.
slán, slán.